If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.
Hey Julie, how are you?
Hello, Julie.
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm Robert.
And I'm Crew.
Tonight, Crew wanted to do the magnificent, the majestic, the mythical, the one and only secret society, Knights Templar.
That's right, Knights Templar. And you all are in store for a wild episode, because this one has been a topic me and Robert been talking about doing for a long time since season 1. And now we're actually doing it, so prepare for a good episode.
Knights Templar. Knights Templar.
From the infamous group that's been known throughout all of
Here we
Assassin's
go.
Creed.
So, oh no, Shaitan.
Yeah.
You wanna check this out, buddy? Right
All
here on
right.
screen.
The
Wanna read that for us?
Templars' full formal name is Papyrus Comatonus Christi Tempicu Solomonisi. I guess that's how you say the last name, which is the
C.
yeah
It's
the poor
it's Latin for
fellow soldiers of Christ in the Temple of Solomon. They're also known as the Knights of the Order of Solomon's Temple, Poor Knights of Christ, Knights Templar, or the following the French Knights Templars, and then Templars.
Okay, so that's the different names for Knights Templar. So we have the Knight, the Order of Solomon's Temple, the Knight of Christ, the Knights Templar, or the French Knights Templar, and the Templars. So those are all the same group, known all over the world with different names. That's pretty freaking interesting. Okay, the organization of the Knights Templar, the military monks. Bernard de Clairvaux and founder Hughes de Paynes devised the specific code of behavior for the Templar order. To modern historians as latter rule, clauses define the ideal behavior for the knights, such as the types of garments they were allowed to wear, how many horses they could have. Knights were to take their meals in silence, eat meat no more than 3 times per week, and not have physical contact of any kind with women, even members of their own family. As the order grew, more guidelines were added, and the original list of 72 clauses was expanded to several hundred in final form. As the Templars were both knights and monks, so their camaraderies were both castles and monasteries. The principal strategically located, they featured the architectural features of a monastery, church, chapel house, cloister, refectory, a dormitory, etc.
Oh, hey, Robert, you kept being choppy there for a bit, every so bit.
I don't know why all my stuff's turned off. Let me see if I can I took my phone off the Wi-Fi. Is that better?
Oh yeah.
That is better. It's
Okay.
more.
Yeah. Hey, hang on, bro. I'll be right back. Give me a sec. I gotta figure out what. It's not you. I'm getting a freaking call going through. I gotta figure out who it is real quick. I'll be right back.
Sorry, guys. But anyways, the Knights. Let's go back real quick to this page, guys. So Bernard de Clairvaux and founder Hughes devised the specific code of behavior for the Templar Order known as modern historians as the Latin Rule. Its 2 clauses define the ideal behavior for the knights, such as type of garments they were allowed to wear and how many horses they could have. Knights were to take their meals in silence, eat meat no more than once per week, and not have physical contact of any kind with women, even members of their own family. As the order grew more, guidelines were added. The original list of 72 clauses was expanded several hundred in its form. As the Templar for their camaraderies were both castles and monasteries. Though defensible, strategically located, they featured the architectural features of monasteries, church, chapter house, cloisters, refectory, and dormitories. Was that better? Was that better, crew?
Yeah.
Not choppy no more? Cool.
Yeah. I had to take care of something real quick, so that's why I had to answer a call.
You're good. Okay, the Templar hierarchy. Templar ranks were knights, who were always noblemen. The Templar knights were equipped cavalry, 3 or 4 horses, and 1 or 2 squires. Squires were not members of the order, but were instead outsiders who were hired for a set period of time. Sergeants, drawn from non-noble families, were Templar sergeants. They brought vital skills and trades, such as blacksmithing and building. They administered many of the order's European properties. In the Crusader states, they fought alongside knights as light cavalry with a single horse. Sergeants wore black or brown. Chaplains, who were ordained priests responsible for the Templar spiritual needs. So that is a rundown of how the knights work. That was their hierarchy. What their organization represents and what they're basically they're military monks, and then different names for the Templar. Now I have some photos, real quick. This is what the Knights Templar or the Temple Cavalry wore.
Yep. That's exactly correct.
And then we got this one right here, guys, which is another painting depicting of a Knights Templar. So this would be like your traditional Knights Templar. Then we have a stained glass window from a church in Europe depicting a Knights Templar man with a sword. Or, I mean, sorry, a spear and a sword. Then this is a sentry knight. So it's basically a Knights Templar, but they are a little bit they're more, I wouldn't say they're more important, but higher rank than the normal. This would be a sergeant, I think.
Right.
But basically, this is what they would wear. They wore like a metal helmet. They carried around a grand shield. They had a long sword. They would wear a certain kind of McIntyre band and boots. They had cape, or it wasn't really a cape. It was called a bald, or a bald, I think. And yeah, so it looks pretty cool. I feel like it'd be really though to walk around in that all the time.
No, that would be uncomfortable.
Right though?
I mean, it
Hey,
looks
and then we
cool.
have the
Don't get me wrong.
seal.
It looks cool.
And
Don't
then
get
we
me
have the
wrong.
seal. Oh no, sure, it looks awesome. And seal of the Templars. So this is a wax seal. That is the famous seal of the Knights Templar, the poor Knights of Christ, riding 2 to 1 horse. So this is the famous wax stamp that the knights would put on their messages to either other companies or people that they were trying to get messages to.
Right.
You want to read that, brother?
Jacques de Molay, from 1243, March 18th of 1314, was the 23rd and last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, leading the order from April 20th, 1292, until it was devolved by order of Pope Clement V. Little is known of his early life except that he joined the order at Boyne in the building that still stands.
So Jacques de Molay was the last knight of the Templar, the last Grand Master that was known of the Knights of the Templar. Jacques de Molay is best known Templar largely because of his faith. Already aged, Jacques de Molay had confessed under torture, later retracted his confession. Geoffroy de Charnay, preceptor of Normandy, also retracted his confession and insisted on innocence. Both were declared relapsed heretics, and they were sentenced to burn alive at the stakes in Paris on the 18th. At the
Right.
stakes in Paris on the 18th of March, 1914. According to legend, he called out from the flames that both Pope Clement and King Philip would soon meet him before God. His actual words were recorded on the parchment as follows: Deus sat qua et hort et push if they been twat, I think it's been what? Arver malhu su kenas ant, whatever. It says, God knows who is wrong and sinned in Latin, I'm pretty sure. I can read a little bit of that, but I am not in any means a top scholar in Latin or a language master of Latin. So I
Right.
probably butchered all of it. So that's a little bit of backstory on the Knights Templar. So what did you how did you first become interested in the Knights Templar?
Oh, to me, it's always been an intriguing story. And then when I saw them in the Assassin's Creed game, I became more and more invested.
I'll tell you the truth here, man. I got really interested in Knights Templar when I heard about the Crusades, and I heard
Oh,
that
that
they
too.
stole, and then I heard that they stole oh my gosh, the goblet, the cup Christ drank from,
Right.
the Holy Grail. Sorry, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's so hard to say. But the Knights Templar supposedly hid the Holy Grail.
Oh, yeah.
Julie said that she watched on TikTok this morning. Well, we got some TikTok videos for you today, Julie. We
Yes,
do.
we do.
We do. We do. So, you said you had some information. Before we hit these videos, what information do you have for us tonight, crew?
Okay. History. Founding. 1118 by Hugh de Paynes, a French knight, founded the Order of the Temple with 8 other knights, vowed to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. Name and symbolism. The order was named after the temples of Solomon in Jerusalem, which they believe was the site of their headquarters. Their symbol, the cross, represented their Christian faith.
So wait, they were headquartered. So the Knights of the Templar were originally headquartered in Jerusalem,
Yep,
and they were diehard Christians, of
yep,
course, and they were strong followers of Christ.
correct.
Got you. Okay, continue.
Okay. Rise
Sorry, I had to.
to power. 1120s to 1300s. The Templars gained popularity, wealth, and influence through military success, financial expertise, and papal support. Organization and structure. Grand Master. The Grand Master was the highest authority responsible for strategic decisions and leadership.
So
Chapters.
that's what Jacques
Yeah,
Dol Molay was. He was the last
mhm,
Grand Master.
mhm,
That was his role. That's what he did.
yep. Let's see here. Chapters and commanders. Templar chapters and commanderies were established throughout Europe, serving as administrative centers, training grounds, and bases for military operations. Ranks and offices. Members held various ranks, including knights, sergeants, and chaplains, each with distinct responsibilities. Military and financial activities. Military campaigns. Templars participated in the Crusades, Christian territories, and fighting against Muslim forces. Banking and finance. The Templars developed a sophisticated banking system providing financial services, loans, safe and safekeeping, pilgrims and nobles for basically for the pilgrims and nobles, trade and commerce. Templars engaged in trade, owning merchants, ships, establishing commercial networks. Persecutions and decline. Accusations and arrests. 1307. King Philip IV of France, deeply in debt to the Templars, accused them of heresy, blasphemy, sodomy. Many Templars were arrested, tortured, and executed. Dissolution, 1312. Pope Clement V officially disbanded the order, and its properties were seized or transferred to other orders. Legacy. Despite their decline, the Templars' legacy influenced the development of modern banking, military tactics, and chivalric codes.
Wait. Modern banking.
Yep.
Weren't we always told that the Jews run banks? I'm pretty sure that I heard recently that if you actually look at who runs all of the banks, it's the Roman Catholics. Would you look
Exactly.
at that? Would you
Hmm.
look at that? It's not the Jews, guys. It's never been the Jews. The Jews have always been the scapegoat, okay? I'm not saying that Israel's perfect because I don't like a lot of the stuff that Israel's doing right now. And I don't back the mindless and killing that is taking place in Gaza right now. But I
Right.
grew up Jewish, and I will tell you that Jews are stereotyped as the people that run the bank, and most certainly, like, I think a lot of us do like pick up jobs as like lawyers and accountants, but in all reality, they don't run the banks. The banks are ran by the Fed, by the Swiss banks, and the
Mm-hmm.
people that don't run all of that, that's all ran by Roman Catholics, by Roman Catholics. So
Right.
you can look at the Pope and the Vatican. If you want to be upset with somebody, be upset with the Vatican. The Vatican literally owns everything.
Right. But yeah, that's basically what I have on the Templars.
Like, I would not be surprised, brother, if we find out later on that the Vatican has all of the Templar files.
Oh, hold
Like,
on.
literally all of them.
I have more information. It popped up.
Have
Think what?
anything on the Vatican and the
Oh,
Templars?
hold on. I'm going to read
I'm
this real
about to
quick.
look that up.
All right. Well, while you look that up, I'm going to read this. Modern speculations and theories. Conspiracy theories. Many speculative theories surround the Templars, including alleged connections to Freemasonry, the Holy Grail, and secret societies. Historic and occult associations. Some believe that Templars possess historic knowledge, practice occult rituals, or hid sacred relics. Notable Templars: Hugh D. Paynes, founder of the order; Bernard de Clairvaux, influential supporter and advisor; Jacques de Molay, last Grand Master, executed in 1308. Cultural depictions. Literature. Templars appeared in works like Ivanhoe and the Da Vinci Code. Film and television. Depictions in the movies like Kingdom of Heaven and TV shows like Nightfall. Gaming. Templars feature in games like Assassin's Creed, love that game series, and Dungeon Defenders. The Templars' history is complex, with both factual and speculative aspects. While their military and financial achievements are well documented, theories about their alleged secrets and conspiracies continue to fascinate and inspire. That's all the information I had.
Okay. Check
I
this
do believe,
out.
here's what I do believe, though, before you start on
The
that. I do believe,
relationship between the Vatican and the Knights Templar is a fascinating and complete. What
what?
crew? What
Well,
did you
okay,
say?
so I said, here's what I do believe. This is my opinion. Okay. I believe that the Knights Templar do have something to do with Freemasonry. I also believe that they do have something to do with the Holy Grail, which is the cup of the Last Supper, and the secret societies.
Well,
And
it's
I also
Jesus's
believe,
cup,
right,
last cup
but
that Jesus drank from.
yes, I also believe that they've had many hidden relics throughout all over different places.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I did get some information on the Vatican's relationship with the Knights Templar,
Okay.
and this is that information. The relationship between the Vatican and the Knights Templar is a fascinating and complex chapter in history. Rooted in the medieval period, the Knights Templar, officially known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, were a Catholic. Haha, they were Catholic. They were a Catholic military order founded around 1190 during the Crusades.
Yep.
Their original mission was to protect pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, but they grew into a powerful and wealthy organization organization endorsed by the Church and completely supported by the Vatican. You hear that? Completely supported by the Vatican. The
Yeah, because of the
Vatican,
Pope.
or more precisely, at the time played a key role in the Templars' rise in 1129 at the Council of Troyes. The order received the formal recognition from Pope Honorius II, thanks to part of the influence of the Bernard Clairvaux, a prominent church figure who helped draft their rule. The papal backing gave Temple legitimacy, tax exemptions, and the ability to amass land, wealth, and influence across Europe and the Levant. They answered to the Pope, which made them independent of local bishops, secular rulers, a privilege that fueled both and latter enemies and resentment. By the early 14th century, the Templars' fortunes shifted dramatically. Their military failures and crusades, combined with their vast wealth, including sophisticated banking systems, made them targets to King Philip the IV. I don't know what that is. Of France, to order saw an opportunity. He accused them of heresy, blasphemy, and other crimes. Charges many historians consider fabricated or exaggerated. On October 13th, 1307, Philip ordered the arrest of all the Templars across France. Pursuing Pope Clement V to act, Clement, under political duress and possibly fearing schism, reluctantly agreed to investigate. In 1312, at the Council of Vienna, Pope Clement V Vox Exo, dissolving the Knights Templar as an order. This wasn't a condemnation of guilt trials like those at Shin in 1308. Had absolved many Templars, but pragmatic move to appease Philip and restore stability. The Templars' property was largely transferred to the Knights Hospitaller, another church-sanctioned order. Though Philip seized much of their wealth in France, the order's last grandmaster, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake in 1314, marking a grand end to their official existence. The Vatican's role has since sparked debate. Some see the papacy as complicit in the downfall, pulling the secular pressure. Others argue Clement V was a weak pope caught in a political vise. In 2007, the Vatican released the Shannon Parchment, a rediscovered document showing that Clement had absolved the Templars of heresy in 1308, suggesting he didn't fully believe the charges but lacked the power to save. Today, the Templars live on popular culture, think secret societies and hidden treasures, think the Holy Grail. Their real story with the Vatican is one alliance turned to betrayal, shaped by messy interplay of faith, power, and politics. What could the Vatican be hiding? What history are you curious that could come out? I think I'm most curious for what they actually have and how many of those artifacts that the Vatican has.
Well, I have some conspiracy theories before you play some videos that I was able to pull up.
Julie says it's interesting that there's a pyramid on the dollar bill and one is part of the Knights Templar as well. Well, actually, Julie, I think the pyramid goes back Egypt, and the eye on top of the pyramid is basically stating we're always watching, which is the government. And then the Latin above the pyramid, I don't remember what it says. It's like habeas corpus or something. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's more of an Illuminati reference and a Freemason reference than Knights Templar. It could deal with something like that, but probably not.
Right. So before we get started on some videos, I'm going to read out some conspiracies real quick. There's 10 of them that I was able to pull up. I'm going to start off with the famous one, the Holy Grail. One of the most enduring legends surrounding the Templars is their alleged connection to the Holy Grail. Some believe they possess the Grail, while others think they were searching for it. which is one of the most famous legends today when it comes to the Crusades, when it comes to the Templars.
I think if they found it, the Vatican has it.
Yeah,
If the Knights Templar found it, the Vatican has it. And I've always thought the Vatican has the Holy Grail.
right. All right. Treasure and wealth. Many theories suggest that the Templars amassed vast wealth and treasures during their military campaigns, which they allegedly hid away or used to fund their activities. Number 3, secret societies and Freemasonry. Some conspiracy theorists believe that the Templars were part of a larger network of secret societies, including the Freemasons. They alleged passed on their knowledge and traditions to these groups. Heretical practices and occultism. Accusations of heresy and occult practices have long been associated with the Templars. Some believe that they engaged in pagan rituals, worshipped idols, or practiced alchemy. Number 5.
Oh, so horrible.
Right. Number
Oh,
5.
sorry.
You're good. Survival and continuism. Despite their official dissolution, some theories propose that the Templars continued to exit or exist in secret, possibly under new names or guises. Number 6, connections. Yeah, connections to other mysteries. The Templars have been linked to various other mysteries, such as the construction of the Rosslyn Chapel, the Oak Island Money Pit, or the Shroud of Turin. Number 7, alternative history and lost knowledge. Some
Do
believe,
you think I was just gonna say, do you think that the Knights Templar could have been integrated into the Vatican's like secret service?
yeah,
Like I feel like that's probably what happened. Is they probably work for the Vatican now. They're probably like the Vatican's version of the Secret Service or the FBI.
right. All right. Some theories suggest that the Templars possess knowledge or artifacts that could change or our understanding of history. This might include lost technologies, ancient wisdom, or forgotten sciences. Number 8, New World exploration and colonization. A few theories suggest that the Templars were involved in early exploration and colonization of the Americas, possibly even before Christopher Columbus.
Yeah,
Number 9, Catholic Church.
I believe that 100.
Me too. Catholic Church and papal conspiracies. Some conspiracy theorists believe that the Templars were victims of a Catholic Church conspiracy, possibly due to their perceived threat to papal authority or their possession of sensitive knowledge. And here's the last one. Historic and spiritual teachings. Finally, some theories suggest that the Templars possess historic knowledge or spiritual teachings that they passed on to select individuals or groups.
Yeah, so I think personally, if they're directly related to the Vatican, when the Knights Templar was disbanded by the Vatican, they
Hmm.
probably weren't actually disbanded, and they were probably just brought into the Vatican. The ones that would listen, the ones that didn't listen or wanted to go their way and want to follow the Vatican, Those were the ones that were burned at the stake, like Jacques de Molay, like
Right.
him. So that makes sense to me. Is that the Vatican probably took those people back and like, you work for us, you've always worked for us. Now hand over the artifacts, and you will now be the Secret Service or the FBI, or you'll watch over the Vatican archives. You know, like they gave them some bullshit job so that they didn't have to worry about the Knights of the Templar anymore.
Right.
Found the pot full of coins. It was it got real calm. I felt real calm at that point. I felt like it was over finally. But then when I looked at the lid and realized there was a map in the lid to an older treasure that the Confederates had found, it renewed a whole new hunt. And I think that was the purpose of the pot of coins, was so that the map wasn't recovered on a corpse on the battlefield. They wanted this particular map to be found by KGC. So there was a lot of KGC symbolism, a lot of clues that only a KGC would understand. So it took me over 9 months to dig the hole. Every day I was working 16 plus hours a day, and I just knew it was there. I did. And I never gave up. I never doubted it at that point, you know. So when I broke in to the cavern and lowered myself in, I was surrounded by a lot of gold and a lot of golden artifacts. And so at this point, you know, I had to figure out what everything was that was in there and figure out how it got there. So
Hey, Brandon.
I'm Brandon says, hey, hey, what's up, man? So what was that? Was that the Oak Island thing?
No.
What was that about?
Okay. So basically, they found a lot of gold at a certain spot, right? And
Right.
they had a map that the Templars only wanted KG or whatever, know what the map was about. And this guy
Right.
said that more gold was found. But
Right.
here's the thing. Nobody can find gold on Oak Island. It's completely impossible.
Right. Nuts. So how do they know that that's a genuine Knights Templar cave?
Okay, so hideouts that belong to like the Templars.
Okay, Brandon, that's cool. That's cool, Brandon. You go play the Skyrim and get that gold, brother.
Such a great game. But yeah, so when you find hidden places like that, Templars will leave something there that you can tell it belonged to the Templars. Like a piece of history. Um like
Well, there's
on the
a seal or
walls.
something's got to have been on it, right?
Right. Like on the
Like
walls inside. Now
it was
now on not on out on not on the outside, on the inside.
right.
So you could find how Templars lived. You could find hidden artifacts in there. You could find symbolism on the walls.
And I heard
So
that the I heard that the Templars had a lot of like Aztecian gold. Is that true?
Allegedly, I can't say they did or not.
Like
So if
supposedly they stole a lot of Aztecian artifacts and gold.
right, but they also had all of King Solomon's gold as well.
Right, but I swear I've heard somewhere before that the Templars had Aztecian gold. I'm looking it up real quick, but here's the next video.
In the year 1307, these chaps here, the Knights Templar, were crushed by the Pope and the King of France and eventually destroyed throughout Europe. Why? Why were the Templars annihilated? Well, my new book, The Knights Templar, History and Mystery, sets out to get to grips with that conundrum. So you can pre-order your copy now via the Pen and Sword Publisher website. Don't miss out on your copy out in hardback on the 30th of November. Knights Templar, History and Mystery by me, Tony McMahon. You may have seen me on TV talking Templar in recent years. Well, now you can read a book that I'm just written especially for you. Get your copy.
So that man wrote a book about the Knights Templar, and that's what he was basically was saying. He knows some information, if you want to know that information, you got to read his book, I guess. Well, I'm probably not gonna read the book, but that's cool. So I looked up if the Knights Templars had any connection to Aztec gold because
Mhm.
because I heard that they did back forever ago. It says that they did not have. There's no historical fact saying they had any tie or connection to Aztec gold. It does say that historically there's a myth that links the Templars to Aztecian gold, and the myth revolves around the fact that they got here before Christopher Columbus, and the gold that they found here was Mayan and Aztecian. So basically, it's stating that the myth states that the Knights Templars were actually the first ones here in the Americas, in South America and North America.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting.
Another piece of evidence which suggests that the Knights Templar built the initiation well is the fact that there is a network of underground tunnels that extend out from it.
At the bottom of the well, you suddenly find yourself in this labyrinth of tunnels which go every single direction. Some of the tunnels extend deep into the mountain to the point where you could come up underneath a chapel or a convent in a hilltop 5 miles away.
The whole place is honeycombed with tunnels. So there's plenty of evidence for the Templars being there. It's believed that Montero may have been looking for something the Knights Templar have left behind in those many tunnels that were underneath, which may have included the Holy Grail.
According to Christian
Those
tradition,
tunnels
the Holy
look
Grail
dope.
was the chalice that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper.
And then it's starting to talk about how the Templars possibly had the Grail.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one myth that I always heard. It's the one myth that has always fascinated me. Did the Knights Templar find the Grail, and where did they hide it? And if they did find it, did the Vatican confiscate it? I guess we'll never know.
That is the symbol of the Knights Templar. The papacy declared these priory knights, these Knights Templar, of limitless power. The Pope had declared the Knights Templar Satan worshippers.
They brought the treasure back to Europe and took the name, the Knights Templar.
Julie says, I always kind of thought Templar was similar to Freemasons. I wonder what the difference is. Well, funny enough, Julie, there might not be that big of a difference. They might all be Freemasons.
Knights Templars that possess dark magic and use it to hunt cryptids for the Pope? What kind of powers and what cryptids?
In 1297, deep in medieval France, King Philip IV sent Templars on a covert mission to find a war party that had vanished 33 days earlier. Among these knights was a secret group known only to the highest ranks of the Vatican and royal families, the Deserters, Latin for the Forsaken. Legends told of their banishment for using dark magic and necromancy when hopelessly outnumbered, 100 to 3. A lone survivor witnessed their unholy sorcery, but their deeds were hidden beneath a vow of silence, sworn into eternal service. These cursed knights were sent on deadly, shadowy missions, quests no one was meant to survive, yet they always returned. Their latest mission led them to Ivoire, where soldiers had disappeared. Reports described something unnaturally fast that extinguished flames and silenced screams in an instant, leaving only darkness behind. As the Forsaken entered the eerie woods near the camp, they dismounted, seeking stealth. The silence was unsettling. No wind, no crickets, just their footsteps and the growing sense of being watched. Suddenly the forest came alive. Faint rustlings echoed from the treetops as creatures moved with unnatural speed, flickering in and out of sight. Heavy thuds followed as something landed on the forest floor, hidden just beyond their vision, lurking in the darkness.
I want to believe that so bad, but that was completely AI generated. But I would really love to believe that the Knights Templars went out hunting cryptids for the Pope. That is such a crazy thing to say, and I pray that that is freaking true. I hope that is true. That would make a year if I found out that the Knights Templar actually went out looking for like Bigfoot or some shit.
Right.
I think that's cool.
I'm a Freemason. Tell me what you think about that.
Okay,
Sure.
what level are you?
32nd degree.
32nd degree. Well, that's pretty high. I would encourage you to repent.
You would encourage me to. So what makes you so sure that Freemasonry is idol worship, Satanism, that sort of thing?
32nd degree. That's Scottish Rite. Am I correct?
That's right. I did the Scottish Rite and the York Rite.
You know, you take a look at the Knights Templar.
Yep.
You know, they that's where it kind of came down from, and they became kind of too big for their britches, and what the Vatican looked at when they were doing all that banking stuff for the.
Yeah, that's why Friday the 13th is considered unlucky, because that was the day that the Templar were disbanded and slaughtered.
Yeah, so I would say yes, Freemasonry and the Knights Templar go hand in hand, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
Documentation that has come to me over the last 15 years. It's called the Cremona document, and one part of it is a specific narrative that talks about Hugh de Payne, the first Grand Master of the Knights Templar, and 5 other knights who entered under the south wall and followed a tunnel system and found an ancient ritual chamber. How old it is unknown. But inside that chamber, they found, or I should probably say recovered, not discovered, artifacts that they knew were there. This included ancient scrolls, ancient knowledge, technologies in the form of instrumentation, gold, wealth, and the remains of a very important person in Templarism going all the way back to the 1st century, John the Baptist.
Oh, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So supposedly they have John the Baptist, the Templars did?
Mm-hmm.
I heard about John the Baptist. I don't know very much about him, but like I know that name. I've heard that name before.
He's mentioned in the Bible.
Why was John the Baptist so important to the Templars?
I don't know.
Let's look that up real quick. And while I'm looking that up, guys, here's another video.
They had spies everywhere they had known for weeks, and they used those weeks to plan. On October 12th, the night before the arrest order was given, the Templars' entire fleet of ships disappeared into the darkness. And aboard those ships were all the ancient Atlantean artifacts, the holy treasures, and forbidden documents. Jacques de Molay and about 100 knights stayed behind. They hoped they could reason with the king and the pope. They failed in that mission, but succeeded in another. Disbanded but not destroyed, in hiding but not in prison, the Templars formed into smaller groups. They assimilated into other orders. Some assumed new identities and disappeared altogether. The Knights Templar in name ended in 1312, but their mission continued. In fact, it continues today.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting with itself. I absolutely love Guy's channel, by the way, guys. So if you ever get the chance and see him, always watch his videos. They're always so freaking good. But anyways, I looked up why John the Baptist was so important to the Knights Templar,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what it says. John the Baptist held significance to the Knights Templar, though the reasons are rooted more in their religious context and symbolism than in the definitive historical evidence, tying them uniquely to him. As a Catholic military order founded around 119, the Templars were steeped into Christian theology, and John fit perfectly into their identity as warrior monks of Christ. John the Baptist was revered in medieval Christianity as a forerunner of Jesus, the one who baptized him and prepared the way for his ministry. So supposedly he baptized Jesus. This made him a symbol of purity, repentance, and spiritual warfare, qualities the Templars sought to embody. Their full name, the Poor Soldiers of Christ, and the Temple of Solomon, reflects their dual role as fighters and penance, mirroring John's ascetic life and his call to righteousness. His beheading by Herod also cast him as a martyr, resonating with the Templars' readiness to die for their faith in the Crusades. The Templars' connection to John deepened, though the association with the Templar Mount in Jerusalem. Their original headquarters that the site near the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which they called the Temple of Solomon, was linked to biblical figures John the Baptist. Some churches they built or patronized, like the Templar Chapel in Paris, featured John the Baptist prominently or dedications. Though this wasn't unique to them, John the Baptist was widely venerated as Christendom. A more speculative angle comes from their 1307 trials when King Philip accused them of heresy. Some Templars allegedly confessed under torture to worshipping. Oh no, I lost it. Wait a minute. Okay. The historical evidence tying them uniquely to him. As a Catholic military order found, their warrior monk Christ, John the Baptist was revealed in Christianity as a forerunner of Jesus. Okay, sorry guys. His beheading by Herod also cast him as a martyr, resonating with the readiness to die for their faith in the Crusades. The Templars' connection to John the Baptist deepened, though their association with in Jerusalem. Original headquarters tradition held at that site near the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which was called the Temple of Solomon. It was linked to biblical figures like John the Baptist. Some medieval churches they built or patronized, like the Templar Chapel in Paris, featured John the Baptist in art or dedications. Now, this wasn't unique to them. John was widely viewed across Christendom. A more speculative angle comes from their 1307 trials. King Philip accused them of heresy. Some Templars allegedly confessed under torture to worshipping a head, sometimes linked to John the Baptist's severed head. Historians like Malcolm Barber argue that this was likely distortion of their veneration relics, possibly a bust or image of John the Baptist twisted into idolatory charges. No solid evidence saw John the Baptist as more than a saintly Templar. But this fueled later myths, especially among the Freemasons and occultists, who claimed that the Templars guarded John the Baptist's head as a mystical artifact. In practice, John's importance to Templars was likely symbolic and liturgical, not secretive. Their rule, influenced by Bernard of Clairvaux, emphasized humility and devotion. John's traits, churches dedicated to him, like St. John's in London, often had Templar, reflecting his role in the spiritual life. So John the Baptist mattered to them as a model of their austere, militant, and sacrificial. This wilder tale's hidden cult relics seem to be the little embellishments, and it's just fun to think that the Knights Templar could have John the Baptist's head. So basically, they guarded John's head, supposedly.
Interesting.
I wonder how they recruit people after all these years. And he also says a lot of things lead back to the Catholics. Oh, a ton of things lead back to the Catholics, my man. The Crusades being one of the biggest ones. The Catholics, or the Knights Templar and a couple other groups, were going around and beheading Christians because of whatever reason. I'm not sure of the actual reason. I just know it was because they felt that the Christians weren't true followers of Christ, and that you had to be Catholic to be a true follower of Christ, or whatever it was. But I could be butchering that, so don't take my word for that. I would have to look it all back up. Maybe these videos will tell us. Here we go. Let's hit this video.
Darkest truth hidden from us.
Do you guys know about the Knights Templar? Well, there is a very weird connection. They were accused of practicing these dark arts. This ancient Egyptian mythicism. And the interesting thing was, their symbol was a red cross, but it was 8-sided. That 8-pointed cross carried throughout really strange organizations. One being Freemasonry and the Nazis. And the story goes that hundreds of years before Columbus went to America, the Knights Templar were actually in America. And there's a conspiracy that they were finding ancient relics and bringing them to America to hide them when the Knights Templar was dissolved. All of Europe was basically that if you're a Knights Templar, you're in prison or you're dead. The only country that did not do it was Portugal. And what's interesting is that Christopher Columbus' ship was the symbol of the Knights Templar. He used those sails going to America because he knew that the natives there would recognize that and it wouldn't be as much as of a threat.
Interesting.
So I wonder if that's true. I wonder if Christopher Columbus used the Knights Templars logo so that the natives wouldn't feel like they were a threat.
Right.
Brandon says Red Cross. Interesting. I know, right? It's weird.
Darkest truth hidden.
That looked absolutely beautiful.
Right.
They worked stupid hard on building that.
Mm-hmm.
They had spies everywhere they had known for weeks, and they used those weeks to plan. On October 12th, the night before the arrest order was given, the Templars' entire fleet of ships disappeared into the darkness.
We've
and
already
aboard
seen
those
this one, bro.
ships were all the ancient Atlantean artifacts, the Holy
I don't know if we've seen that one.
Yeah, we have. I guess it was sent in twice on accident.
That one's about Atlantis.
I know. When you were looking up the about the beheading of John the Baptist and about the connection, that was played.
Yeah.
Crusaders were busy trying to fight for the Holy Land and taking over territory. The Templars were more concerned with digging for artifacts. You have to remember that the Templars largely came out of Albigensian families in southern France, which were a Gnostic sect. So they already had ideas that were contrary to the popular establishments of the time.
You mean of the Roman Catholic Church?
Roman Catholic Church and the monarchies.
Right.
They were very democratic, and they were open to spiritual ideas in which the individual was empowered. This allowed them to go out and try to seek out other communities that had these views. In particular, there was a tradition that caused the Templars to travel to Constantinople to meet with a group there that was known as the Brothers of the East. This particular group in Constantinople had originally come from Greece, had been established in 1057, and they set themselves up in an area that was known as the Church of St. Sergius and Bacchus, which was a building designed by an alchemist in which Pythagorean and other ideas were incorporated into it, Gnostic ideas.
Sacred geometry.
Sacred geometry, absolutely.
If you are looking for the knowledge that has been hidden from us,
Say that one 5 times fast, homie.
Right.
The name of that church? I couldn't say that if I wanted to.
Me either.
Do we think the Knights have something to do with the Red Cross Foundation in today's age? I mean, it's a possibility.
Yeah, it is a possibility.
They are legitimately called the Red Cross. They could have some kind of tie to the Templars, but in all reality, they could also just be that could just be the name of the foundation. So you have to do a giant rabbit hole deep dive into the Red Cross and see basically where the Red Cross stands and all of it.
Yeah.
It's a weird thought, though. I've never thought about that before.
Equal armed cross that adorned the Templars' white tunics and that they're famous for. That's a very old symbol. Is it true that it goes back to the time of the Atlanteans?
Yeah, in fact, it's a symbol that is found all throughout the ancient world. In particular, ancient Sumer. It was something that was utilized by what were known as the Anunnaki or the gods of ancient Sumer. But you also find it in Egypt and other places. And it related specifically in ancient Sumer to alchemical science that was known as Graal, G-R-A.A-L. This came to be partially associated with what was later to be known as the Holy Grail, which the Templars were said to be guarded. So they adopted this symbol. There were certain signs, there were certain handshakes that had been passed down from early times that these different Gnostic families and traditions had been holding on to. So when Hugh de Paynes and Godfrey de St. Omar had inherited these things, they went to Constantinople. They were able to exchange them with the Brothers of the East. In particular, Johannite tradition under a guy by the name of Theoclete and another man by the name of Michael Psellos, who was a very famous French philosopher. And they had been at Constantinople, and
They had the blueprints for what Hugh de Payens and Godfrey de Saint Omer needed to do to form the Templar Order, and specifically to go to Jerusalem for the next stage of their mission.
If you are looking for the knowledge that has been hidden from us, that explains how actually powerful.
Interesting.
Oh my god. I'm sorry.
That adorned the
Old school season 1 intro song.
That wasn't supposed to happen. That was
That's
an
funny.
accidental click.
That's funny.
That was stupid. Sorry guys, that was my bad. Julie says the symbols are similar. They are similar for real. They
Oh
are.
yeah.
Once again, guys, I'm very sorry about that. I literally dropped my my vape, and it hit my soundboard, and the music went off. So that's my bad. There's some entertainment from Rab. Some wonderful entertainment from Rab. Thank you.
I mean, it's funny because that was season 1 intro music.
I know, right? All right.
The Knight Templar. They're not just historical relics. These warrior monks left a lasting mark. From humble beginnings, they rose to become a powerhouse that even kings envied. Around 1119 AD, in the wake of the First Crusade, the Templars formed to safeguard Christian pilgrims in the Holy Land. With king's blessing, they started as defenders, poor but noble. They even inspired their name, Knights Templar, from Temple Mount, their HQ. Fast forward, their reputation grew. They weren't just knights, they were a trend, supported by money, land, and even kings. On the battlefield, they were fearless. Bravery was their code. Offutt, their wealth soared. Castles, cathedrals, land, they owned it all. Yet their fall was as stunning as their rise. Accused of heresy by King Philip IV of France, Templars faced torture and trials. Some confessed under duress, leading to their downfall. Their legacy endures in myths and legends, but the real story is just as captivating.
Yep.
So basically, everything I put together about the Templars is a lot of them were tortured in the end. Like,
Yep.
they had to admit that they were a part of the Templars, and if they didn't admit to it, they tortured until they admitted to it, and then they got killed.
Mhm.
Or they got unalived.
Mhm.
Oh, that was weird. The ghost just threw a pencil off of my table.
Hmm.
Like nobody touched it, and the pencil just flew off the table. The cat's asleep in the freaking corner of the room. There's no reason that pencil should have just flown off the table.
Right.
What a normal life, man. I wish I could have gotten that on camera. Wish it happened in front of all of you, because this is a normal occurrence in my house. Paranormal shit be happening in here all the time. This place is haunted, and like I've heard from a couple different people that they're pretty sure that somebody's died in the exact apartment that I live in right now, which would make sense because a lot of people live in these apartments. You know what I mean? Like through the years, a lot of people live in these apartments, so it only makes
Right.
sense. These apartments were probably haunted as hell. We have like plants and stuff in here, and sometimes the plants move by themselves, and like the air's not on, but the plants will move, and there'll be no air hitting them or nothing. And then sometimes, like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I mean, I think I'm crazy, but the viewers might think I'm crazy. In all reality, like, there's been a couple times now here in the past, like, couple of days where, like, we have just gotten done with the podcast and I'm getting off line to go lay down, and I hear a voice clear as day come from my kitchen, and it's it's usually like a grunting voice or a voice that sounds like really raspy almost, and it was like the you can't really make out what it's saying, but it's really freaky. A couple of times I thought it was saying my voice, my name.
Right.
Weird shit, man. Weird fucking shit. And that pencil flying off the table for no goddamn reason at all, like, that freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, that is a little creepy.
Dude, it happens here all the time. Stuff be flying off the shelves, off the tables. It's weird, especially when we're doing the podcast.
Hmm.
Guys, the ghost doesn't like it when I stream. Alright, let's hit this next video.
CIA, which was called the OSS in the Second World War. CIA originally, the OSS was originally founded by men who were members of an order called the Knights of Malta. It is a Roman secret society of powerful Freemasons who have operated in Europe for many, many hundreds of years. The Knights of Malta, along with the kindred orders like the Knights Templars, who were the international bankers in Switzerland. This is why Switzerland's never in any war, because this is where the Templars call home. This is the international banking. You don't mess with the boss lives. So I think that there's something going on here very big.
Do you have any idea what that is?
Yes, I certainly do. I haven't spent 40 years with this subject not to know.
Oh, I'm gonna have to read that book, I think. I think I'm gonna have to read that book.
Right.
The more I hear the man talk about that book, and the more I hear him go, I've spent 40 on this fucking subject, that makes me go, I wonder what that man knows. I wonder what he knows, and I wonder what he put in that book.
Right.
But at the same time, I also wonder how much people are bullshitting me.
Right.
Because that's a possibility. We got a comment. Ghost doesn't like you telling secrets. I know, right, man? The ghost doesn't like me telling secrets. The ghost doesn't like it when I podcast. I swear. The ghost gets really. So the craziest thing the ghost has ever done here in this apartment, because I've had other ghosts in other houses that I've lived in, but the craziest thing that this ghost in particular has done is basically one night it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. This is probably like a month or two ago. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm all by myself, and my cat is sleeping in his cat bed, which is like maybe 3 feet away from where I'm sitting down right now. Basically, my cat freaked out, jumped up. I saw a shadow go across my wall and the room that I was in, and the shadow like stopped at the side of the wall where my front door is, and my cat like sprung up and started growling and like hissing at the wall, and then the shadow just kind of dissipated and was gone, and the cat calmed down. It took the cat like 10 minutes to calm down, though. He was not happy. And I've never seen a cat meow or hiss at nothing before. And it was the luckiest thing I've ever seen.
Right.
Because animals know, man. They just know.
Yeah.
Creepy stuff. Spooky time, as Keizo would say.
The Knights Templar were the Roman Catholic Church's military order, who were hiding a deadly secret. The Templars were among the richest and most renowned military orders in Western Christianity. Founded in 1119 and headquartered on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, they existed for nearly 2 centuries during the Middle Ages. Sporting their white mantles with a red cross, they were also the most skilled fighting units of the Crusades. The Templars were the rock stars of their time. They would go on to invent one of the earliest forms of banking that would go on to become one of the largest economic infrastructures of Christendom. Legends surrounding the Templars would develop. Were they guardians of ancient esoteric knowledge, or of powerful relics, such as the Holy Grail, the Shroud of Turin, or even the Ark of the Covenant? Or were they making deals with incorporeal entities in exchange for occult wisdom? The original Friday the 13th in 1307 AD, the Templars were all arrested, and some were eventually burned at the stake. They were accused of forcing recruits to spit on the cross, deny Christ, and engage in homoerotic activities. Among the charges was also idolatry, the worship of an entity known as Baphomet, which some believe to be a mummified severed head, the severed head of John the Baptist. Some believe the Knights Templar are still around today, protecting the bloodline of Jesus Christ. What do you think?
I thought that Asian dude coming out of nowhere going gay was the funniest thing in the entire world.
Mm-hmm. That
I'm
was
such
pretty
a child. I have no issues with gay people, by the way. I love all people. Gay people are awesome.
A cross fragment that could heal severe... A cross fragment that could heal severe illnesses and predict the future appeared suddenly 900 years ago, only to vanish in a blood-red dawn. This holy relic, said to be from Jesus' crucifixion cross, was once the Byzantine royal family's most precious treasure before being lost to Jerusalem in the flames of war. In 1099, 9 Templar Knights discovered it in a secret chamber beneath the Temple of Solomon, the fragment encased in pure gold, emanating an inexplicable radiance. Legend has it that when the knights first touched this holy relic, Hugh de Payens, who was gravely ill, was suddenly cured, and from that day forward, the Templars vowed to protect it with their lives. They built 108 secret vaults across Europe, specifically for sacred relics, constantly moving the fragment to ensure it would never fall into the hands of those who coveted it. Each Grand Master would kiss this holy relic during their inauguration ceremony, supposedly able to see the Order's destiny in it, though none ever revealed what they saw. In 1307, when the French king's army stormed the Paris Temple, the last Guardian Knights had already vanished into secret passages with the fragment. During the subsequent trials, even under threat of burning at the stake, every knight kept silent about the relic's whereabouts. Some say it was hidden in a castle in the Scottish Highlands. Others claim it lies in an underground church in the Pyrenees Mountains. 900 years have passed. Where did this cross fragment that changed European history go? Follow me to unravel this millennium-old mystery together.
Now that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think it wound up?
I don't know. But it's something cool to learn about.
I'd like to know.
Me too.
This is where the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar was executed, here at the Pont Neuf, the oldest standing bridge in all of Paris, and we can actually see the plaque dedicated to Jacques de Molay. But what happened to the Knights Templar? Well, they were a holy order that gained a whole lot of power and a whole lot of money fighting the Crusades over in the Holy Lands. They started collecting relics. Some of those very rare relics could have been the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. However, no one knows if that's true or not. but they started amassing huge amounts of wealth from lending money over to the royalty of Europe. However, Christians couldn't technically lend money. That's why most of the Jewish population ended up taking that role. So they found a workaround. They stored money in their vaults all throughout Europe. And one of those kings that they stored money for was King Philip IV here in France. And he was immersed in huge amounts of debt to the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar also wanted to take over a part of southeastern France. This was no good for King Philip. So he gathered all the Knights Templar on Friday, October the 13th, 1307, and charged them with heresy and other grave sins like devil worshipping and spitting on the cross. The Knights Templar were tortured for weeks on end until they actually confessed things that they probably never did in the first place. Then by March 18th, 1314, as all these trials took place and the Knights Templar were ousted in many parts of Europe, the very last Grand Master was burned at the stake right over here. According to legend, as he was being burned at the stake, he prayed softly and he let out a curse to both King Philip IV and Pope Clement V that were standing right here in attendance, seeing this man burn alive. And he said that they shall not live no more than a year until they met the judgment of God. Well, Pope Clement died just a few weeks later, and the king died just a few months later from a stroke. Do you think the Knights Templar are still around, or were they truly shut down for good? Stay curious, my friends.
Coincidence?
Mm-hmm.
That's a coincidence?
Right.
The king and the pope and said they wouldn't live for a year till they met God, and they literally months later they both did.
Mm-hmm.
What? Sounds like the devil wanted them all dead, Brandon says. Maybe they did.
Evidence of the Knights Templar can be found all over the world. After they disbanded, they were determined to keep their knowledge and traditions alive, so they created alias groups to avoid detection. In Scotland, they became Freemasons. Portugal, they were known as the Knights of Christ. In Germany,
we haven't seen one. Have we?
Mm-mm. We haven't seen that one.
No. Okay, cool. Alright, I'm gonna play it then. I just wanted to make sure we hadn't seen that one.
evidence of the Knights Templar can be found all over the world. After they disbanded, they were determined to keep their knowledge and traditions alive, so they created alias groups to avoid detection. In Scotland, they became Freemasons. Portugal, they were known as the Knights of Christ. In Germany, they created Rosicrucianism. There's also evidence of them in the early Americas. Nova Scotia has the legendary Oak Island, with buried Templar treasure and deadly curses. An indigenous tribe in Panama, known as the White Indians of Darien, have pale skin and Caucasian features. Some believe they're descendants of the first Templars in the Americas. When asked about the Knights Templar, the natives called them our brothers. In early Europe, Templars were the first Vikings. The first pirates were Knights Templar. The famous skull and crossbones symbol, the Jolly Roger, that flag was first flown by the Templar Navy to frighten their enemies before battle. One of the most famous Templar symbols is the Red Cross with a white background. Another is the depiction of several knights on a horse, like this statue in London. Both of these are found in cathedrals and chapels all across Europe. If you read or saw the Da Vinci Code, you may remember Roslin Chapel in Scotland. Pagan and Templar symbols are on every inch of it. Some, like this carving of a knight on horseback, are obvious. This is the gravestone for William Sinclair. It's in the lower part of Roslin Chapel. It specifically says Knight Templar. William Sinclair had no love for the church and provided help to any Knights Templar who asked for it. But it's not just crosses and horses that the Knights engraved on their architecture. There are more subtle clues relating to some of their Gnostic and sometimes pagan beliefs. Sculptures of angels in strange positions are common in Roslin Chapel and are an important rite in Freemasonry. But Freemasonry wasn't supposed to have started until 1717. Rosslyn Chapel was built in 1446. Over 100 of these little green men are scattered around Rosslyn Chapel. They're pagan symbols and thought to originate from ancient Celtics. Paganism simply refers to anything that isn't Christian, Muslim, or Jewish. Why would there be hundreds of non-Christian symbols in a Catholic church? Templar legend says they were placed there as a message. Some of the more interesting carvings are of plants that Europeans never should have known about. This is a picture of corn over one of the windows in Rosslyn Chapel, and here's one of trillium. But corn and trillium are native to North America. Rosslyn Chapel was built almost 50 years before Columbus sailed to the New World. How would Templars know what these plants look like? Well, isn't it obvious? They were there first. Templar legend says Sir Henry Sinclair, grandfather of the builder of Rosslyn Chapel, was not only a Templar, but was among the first Europeans to visit the New World. Not only that, but Christopher Columbus himself was associated with the Knights. He was a distant relative of the Sinclairs. Columbus's daughter was married to the Grand Master of the Order. He had access, as all Grand Masters do, to ancient knowledge of the Knights Templar, including their maps. Columbus knew there was something on the other side of the Atlantic. He didn't know what, but he knew there was land and treasure. He knew this because the Knights Templar had maps of the New World for centuries. One of these was the Piri-Reis map, and you know this famous map. It shows the New World and Antarctica hundreds of years before they were rediscovered. Piri-Reis, by the way, was a cartographer from Istanbul, which in his time was Constantinople, birthplace of the Knights Templar. Was Piri-Reis a Templar? Maybe. Coincidence? Maybe. But when Columbus wanted to sail to the New World, he first approached King John of Portugal for financing. King John refused, so Columbus went to Portugal's enemies, Spain and England. Queen Isabella of Spain came up with the money first, and the rest is history. But Templar history tells a different story. They say Portugal refused to finance Columbus because they already knew about the New World. Knights Templar had been sailing there for years. Portugal was populated by so many knights that it was considered a Templar nation. In fact, the word Portugal means port of the Gauls, but Templars say it really means port of the Grail. Knights Templar history says they were trading with Native American tribes for years. That's where they got a lot of their gold. And the Templars had a very good relationship with the people of the New World. Columbus knew this. How do we know? Well, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria all flew flags with the Templar cross. He knew the natives would recognize this symbol and be peaceful. And they were at first. Sadly, the Europeans didn't return the favor. The Knights Templars say they were the first Europeans to visit the Americas. Fine. But can they prove it? They can.
So Brandon's convinced that the Red Cross is tied to the Knights Templar.
Makes
Maybe
sense.
they are.
Right.
Maybe they are.
What is it about the Templars that makes it relevant to the modern day?
Well, one of the things is, first of all, you know, a Templar, you have to remember, is a warrior monk, right? Which seems to be this contradiction, right? How can you be a monk and also a warrior? But from how we apply that modern day is look, we on the one hand,
I don't feel like that gave me very much information.
Right.
That's all that was there in that video. Well, guys, we've reached the part of our stream where we've hit our last video. This is our last video coming up. But before we hit this last video, I want to say that if you've enjoyed the stream tonight and you had fun in the stream tonight, please like, share, and subscribe to our stream. It would help us out enormously. We really enjoy being able to do this and have fun with you guys and learn with you guys and just go over different subjects and learn about different things. And we have a wonderful time every time and every night. So thank you again to all of you that like our stuff, share our stuff, and subscribe to us. We are very thankful for you guys, and we love that we have fans that watch us every night. Thank you so much. Robert and crew love you. Now let's go on. Here's the last video, guys. Enjoy.
There's a pervasive rumor within the Templar tradition that I've heard for years, and I would like to get confirmation from you. The equilateral, equal-armed cross that adorned the Templars' white tunics and that they're famous for, that's a very old symbol. Is it true that it goes back to the time of the Atlanteans?
Yeah, in fact, it's a symbol that is found all throughout the ancient world. In particular, ancient Sumer. It was something that was utilized by what were known as the Anunnaki, or the gods of ancient Sumer. But you also find it in Egypt and other places. And it related specifically in ancient Sumer to a alchemical science that was known as Graal. G-R-A.A-L.
That sounds familiar.
Yes, this came to be partially associated with what was later to be known as the Holy Grail.
Right.
Which the Templars were said to be guarded. So they adopted this symbol.
You see those videos twice, just different music with them in different backgrounds. Like, you sent me two of those videos twice.
I
That's
didn't
funny.
realize I did. My bad.
No, that's cool. So yeah, and tonight we had a lot of fun talking about the Knights Templar. You feel like you've learned anything new?
Nope, I pretty much knew all that information. I knew about the connection with Atlantis and the cross and all that. You know, I've been doing my research for years, man. Like, this is one of my favorite subjects.
You're welcome, Julie.
Yes, you're very so
We
welcome.
always have fun sharing and finding out this stuff and learning and having fun with you guys.
You as well, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks. All right, guys. Well, we had a lot of fun tonight going over this topic. We'll probably talk about it again at some point. The Knights Templar is a very fascinating topic. It's very fun. It's very intriguing. I hope you all had as much fun as we did. Like I said before, please like, share, and subscribe to videos. As of this, though, good night, guys. It's Robert and crew. We're out. Peace.
If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.